Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining in. Today is a follow up episode with son Jinkal from St. Michael's. He's really the stock has really taken off. He's complete. He produced this summer. He's producing this season. But we're gonna go past highlights, but actually what translates competitiveness, shot selection, and just get to go a little bit deeper into son's preparation. And son, thanks for being on here, man. I know it's getting ready to go back to school real quick.
Mm, of
Holidays. Really appreciate you getting on, man.
course.
All right, so let's just kind of get right to it, man. What's the biggest difference you see in your game from last season, the summer to now?
I think from the last school season, my role has like expanded a lot just with, I guess you could say, absence of players and my game developing. So with that and like I mean, as soon as the season ended last year, we had our end of year meetings, and me and my coach talked about how with a new role expanding, there's a different level of, work and preparation and kind of a confidence that comes with that. So I think I've
Hmm.
always had that, and I've just been really ready to have that role. And my whole life, I've been excited to play at a high school where I can have that role. So I think just from last year to this year, I have more of a role, and I think everything else has stayed the same. I'm still competing at the same level I competed last year, and defending at the same level I did last year.
I can vouch for that, man. Not in an arrogant way at all, but you've always had the confidence, the quiet confidence to play your role. I
Yep.
mean, you played with some big names, so
Hmm.
that's great, man. I'm glad you mentioned something uh, a little bit about the expectation. You
Yeah.
know, so what part of your improvement do you feel like is skill set, and what is mindset?
I think so I think I've had the skill set for a long time, but I think there's like a fine line between having the skill set and using the skill set. So um, this year I've really implemented using a lot of more than just like last year I was more of a catch and shoot, maybe like straight line drives, but this year I'm able to come off ball screens, play in transition, make a lot more reads than I was making last year. So this whole summer with my trainer Zach, we've been just attacking all kinds of reads and playing with pros and all those kind of things. So um, that got me ready for the season. Along with playing in the summer, I was able to do that a lot too, with a little bit more of a, I guess you say, like a freedom in the summer than you have when you're a sophomore on a team with, you know, a really, really good team last year. So,
That's cool, man.
yeah.
So let's kind of move into competitiveness. When someone says compete to you, how are you competing when shots aren't falling?
I would say like everything that same mic starts with our just like our defensive intensity. So I think every game in the first quarter, you notice like regardless of our makes or misses, like we're playing super hard. And I mean, at least we try to. I mean, we've definitely had games where that slipped up and it's showed in our record and stuff like that. But um, definitely trying my best to always stay positive and just worry about the main thing. When the main thing is getting stops. So and keeping, I guess, my matchup from getting off because usually my matchup is it could be a 4 star, 5 star player. So having
Hmm.
a chip on my shoulder to just, shut them down because they probably think they're gonna get off on me just looking at me.
All right. Well, what's your, talking about getting out to a slow start at sometimes, what was that mindset or your first thought when you're looking at an 8-0 run the other way? How are you responding?
I think another, yeah, just trying not to get too low for the lows and too high for the highs. So we have good leadership on this year's team. We have a good balance of older guys and younger guys. So I think just making sure that the younger guys know that like it's okay. It's a game of runs, a lot of possessions. Like our team plays probably with way more possessions than a lot of teams in the state do. So like even if we're down, 12 going into the fourth, like that's not anything we can't come back from because we've done it before and we can do it.
Mhm. What's the most physical game you played this year? And how do you think he responded to it?
Most physical, man, it could probably go a lot of ways, but I would say either Frisco Heritage, um, or St. Joseph's. We played them from California and Arkansas this past weekend, so one of those
Mm.
two.
Yeah, you mentioned some top five. I mean, some 5-star players, and those two those two schools pop off right there. Um, what's one competitive habit that your teammates can always count on?
Uh, Shoot, I mean, I think I'm taking the most charges on the team, so that's one of them.
Really?
Yeah,
Step it up, big dog.
yeah.
Uh, well, look, everybody, this is Kevin Howell, aka the One Eye Scout, and you're listening with us with Son Jinkle joining us on the watch list. We're moving into an area that's often overlooked. Okay, so what's what's your personal green light rule? Time, score, coverage? Is there a man? I'm going to get this off.
Mm-hmm. I think it's just like, um, in a way, it's like being aggressive without being greedy for the ball. So, in our motion, in our offense, like the ball is going to come to me eventually, and I think my green light is making the right play, just making the right reads, and I'll get my shots, and everyone else will too, and then it'll look complete. So I don't really need to hunt too much as other guys do on other teams, just because our offense flows really well into my hands and everyone else's hands.
That's good, man.
Yeah.
You know, how do you decide? In that split second between a quick trigger and one more pass.
I think it's just reading the closeout, I guess you could say, if the guy's, um, right up on me, or personnel as well. If it's a slower defender, I can probably get
Mm-hmm.
the shot off faster. And if it's a faster defender, athletic guy, then that could probably be a one more, another shooter.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask this: being such a prolific scorer as you are, what's the toughest shot for you to turn down, and how are you training to turn that down?
Mm. I think sometimes, like a lot of these transition contested layups that could be a little bit too contested that I might go through. Those are tough because I think a lot of times I'll make them, and then when you miss them, it looks pretty bad. So, and just you could miss the easy read if you make a few of them in a game, and you're over aggressive to get to the line or whatever, look for the foul. So, I think that's an area of improvement there.
It's interesting that you bring that up because you are so athletic. You do control your body balance well, and I bet that is difficult to turn down,
Hmm.
being that you do such a high percentage.
Yeah,
What's the toughest thing you do every game that won't show up in a box score?
I think it's my communication with my team. From last year to this year, it's been a huge jump for me just because I'm a little older now, and I guess guys have a little bit more respect for me. So I think a lot of times we've been down this year. Like I would say, almost every tough game we've won, we've been down. So there's got to be some level of communication in it. If it's not coming from me, it's coming from someone else. But I think my teammates can always count on me to um, be uplifting. So.
All right, so this will kind of be something that some younger guards could look at. But when defenders get into your body, you know, what's your answer? Is it pace? Is it strength? Angles? How are
Mhm.
you working around it?
Yeah, I mean, if I have smaller guards, I like to get off of it so I can get to the post. I like to really take advantage of small guards in the post. Definitely not try to over dribble just because that's what they were looking for me to do, because that's how they get you know, their name off me or whatever. Just get the ball off me. But definitely not force anything.
Mm-hmm. Um, so with that increased role, increased energy exertion, how do you handle fatigue late? Like what stays consistent in your effort?
I would say just like on defense for sure would just be always like if you're in the fourth quarter when you're really tired, it's harder to guard like on the second swing or the third swing. So just like a lot of and one of the things our coach emphasizes is denying. So if we just deny, like if I'm guarding the best player, if I just deny him, then I don't have to work when I'm guarding him. So trying to
Mhm.
keep it away from the best guys with their touches. So
It's interesting that you bring up that first swing, second swing, third swing.
hmm
I was reading, and they said that you can do a ball screen, and the first pass to the right side, no swing. You it's their school was shooting like at 30%, and then after the second swing, after that swing, it went up to like 36%. But
hmm
if the ball swing was swung three or more times, it percentages jump to 60%, man.
hmm
Just because, like you said, people get fatigued and they don't get over there.
hmm
Um, all right, man. So I know you're prideful in your defense. So what do you take the most pride in? On ball, help side, or closeout?
I would say my closeout defense, just because I know that's where I thrive the best, and I think it's probably the hardest part of defense is coming from help to get to a closeout and taking away the middle drive. So I think that's a part I pride myself in for sure.
You talked about your leadership, taking a bigger leadership role. Are you more of a vocal leader or a lead by example? And why do you go that route?
I would say I think it's a good balance of both, but even if I'm not, I guess, playing well, I think that's where I always have to be vocal. So I would say vocal.
Hmm. Which kind of answers other question I was going to ask was, how do you leave when you're playing not playing up to snuff? But you answered that with saying that you become more vocal. Um, what's a time you had to hold a teammate accountable in real time? You don't have to name
Yeah,
names. I mean, just situation.
all year, I think every game, like even including myself, I've had my bad quarters. Or guys have had their bad halves, and I think at halftime it's really like I think the Heritage game we were down 16, ended up winning by 8, like 20. So um, I think a few of our starters weren't playing their best game. I had a good first half in terms of scoring, but I think
Mm.
I was able to talk to them, keep their confidence up, and ultimately they all helped win that game.
You know, we're having a big deal over here at One Eye Scout about rebounding. And what's your standard for rebounding from the wing, and what's acceptable to you?
Yeah, rebounding is definitely a huge part of my game. I think offensive rebounding and defensive rebounding we do a pretty good job of. I think offensive rebounding we've kind of taken a dip this year a little bit, and I think even in my game, I think I need to emphasize that a little bit more going into district and playoffs. Trying to get back more possessions because sets will be scouted more and things like that. But yeah, definitely a huge part.
You know, talking about tough games going down the stretch, what's one thing that coach can trust for you to do in the last 2 minutes?
I think on the defensive end is trust that we can complete plays in terms of getting stops and getting rebounds. And the offensive end, being aggressive and but um, not taking a bad shot because in the last 2 minutes you need to make sure you're getting the best shots you can. So
Being as a human, you know, when you watch film and you critique yourself, what's the first thing you look for to see if you did this well?
um, something I look for is probably it's always on the defensive side. I think even just our coach doesn't. He's not like he'll have his clips ready for us when the game's over or whenever we get to the film session, and it's usually not a lot of offense unless it's just lack of set execution or being soft.
Mhm.
But on the defensive side, it'd be like missed box outs, wrong foot up on the closeout, energy stuff. So that's always what I'm looking for.
All right, so the tell of the tape. If a college coach watched 10 possessions of you off ball, what would they see? What would they learn about you?
They could notice that I'm really active and always talking. I think this year I've stepped up on that side of the ball too. Just I think the first few games I was struggling off the ball just because I had a really good matchup or whatever on ball. So, but I've taken a huge leap in that sense too, just knowing that defense is more than just your matchup. So,
Very cool.
mm-hmm.
Everybody, thanks for joining in. That's today's watch list. We've got Son Jinkal, St. Michael's prep. He's not collecting offers, but building his offer base, latest one with NC State. If you're a coach watching, you already know what matters. Habits that translate, decisions that hold up, a competitiveness that doesn't change when it gets physical. And I believe Son Jinkal fits that mold. Son, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you for having me.